Picture this: four family members, six devices, 12 weeks of travel, and what felt like a million photos. Today, we're revealing how Chantal managed all her family photos that were taken during a once in a lifetime adventure without being totally overwhelmed.
Hi, and welcome to the DIY Photo Organizing podcast, focusing on topics to help you with your photo management. I'm Chantal from Photos in Order.
And I'm Fiona from Counselling Memories. Hi, Chantal, how are you?
Hello, I'm really good. So excited.
I know it's lovely to be here together again.
Yes.
Now, some of you might have noticed that I actually said counselling memories instead of I'm Fiona from Photo Helper, which is what I've been saying for many years. Well, yes, I have finished my degree, my counselling degree, and I'm so thrilled to now offer counselling support to people as they organise their photos. So, understanding the emotional journey that often comes with organising or even thinking about organising photos. So, yeah, many people find that organising photos can bring up unexpected feelings, sometimes nostalgia or grief, or overwhelm for many reasons. So, my work now focuses on providing a compassionate space for clients to, yeah, process their emotions and so they can move forward with some clarity and peace, and complete those photo organising projects that sometimes get blocked by our emotions. So that's me. What about you, Chantal? What have you been up to?
That's what we're actually going to talk about today. But traveling is, of course, not my only pastime. I have done a lot of work recently, of course, as always. But yes, I did have the fortunate, I feel blessed that we could do that. We did do a very amazing trip end of last year and earlier this year. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Fantastic. That's great. In our little lead up to this, I'm really excited to share this today, and hopefully we can give
Mm.
some listeners a really good idea of just something that you've done that might work for them, or give them some things to think about and tips to take away when they're next traveling, whether that be a big trip like you've done or a weekend away with, friends. So, um, all right, let's jump in. So, my first question to you: could you please tell us about how you planned for a trip such as this? 12 weeks is a huge adventure. So, what did you do to prepare yourself and to manage the process on the road?
Mm. So I'll only talk about the photos because planning the entire trip, that would be going way too far because that was, oh my God, that was so time consuming. I could probably be a travel agent by now, I tell you. But obviously, when you have 12 weeks on the road, and I have to say, 8 weeks of those 12 weeks, they were on the road. So it was kind of a road trip and different countries. And then we had a month back home in Switzerland to spend Christmas with family and to have a ski holiday. So there was less travel as such, moving around involved. But 8 weeks on the road, yes, that was a lot. And obviously, everyone knows when you do something like that, you will take a lot of photos. So, um, and also because we are experienced travelers, I knew this time round that because it was such a special trip, I also wanted to journal, and I'll touch on that later. But so we were four adults. Our boys are now adults, and obviously they have their own phones, hence their own camera. So we knew that, and I also knew I need to just plan ahead because our days will be full, I don't want to spend it with worrying about, how do I do this or how do I do that, or, forgetting charging cords and things like that. So it really was key to success, the whole planning. And what we did was we had the four phones, and I have a little MacBook Pro. It's not the newest and greatest, but it does its job and it's light. So I knew I would take that definitely. And our personal photo hub, our collection, lives actually already on an external drive, on an SSD, a solid state drive, and that's where it already is. And because it was so easy to take that with me, I did take my actual current collection. I could have taken a separate one or not taken an external one at all and then later merged everything into our collection. But I knew, this saves me a lot of work. I'd rather just bring it along and do it in one go.
So you
So
made
that's
those
what we brought.
decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you made those decisions before you even left. You had all of
Yes.
that worked out. Yeah.
Yes. And obviously, it did help that we had traveled quite a bit in the past, but it was different because it was such a long trip and we knew there's going to be a considerable number of photos taken.
Mm, yeah.
Um, and I also had thought about, how am I going to do that while we're on the road? And I'm I'm using I and me because we had initially thought, well, that was more the journaling that we thought, we'll take turns. The photos was always clear. I'm the family photo keeper. I'm the manager in our family of the photos. And so there was no question at all who's going to do it all. And so I had to think about how will I manage that time-wise and, what am I dealing with? And maybe I should say that also when you're listening, what worked for me or for us might not work for you. We
Mm.
we traveled in Europe, and pretty much really everywhere we were, we had Wi-Fi access, internet access. So that's a big thing. If you go out bush and have no internet, what I did might not work for you.
Mm.
So these are things I did consider ahead of time. Yeah.
Okay. So can you tell us, understanding that you've done all that preparation
Mm,
sort of a little bit beforehand, how did you actually manage things when you were on the trip?
mm. So I had a plan, and that pretty much did go to plan. We did tweak it possibly a tiny bit on the road after a few days. You get into it and you see what works and what doesn't, but it did actually work. So what we did, we had four iPhones. We had also two real cameras, as I call them.
Yeah.
Um, but to be honest, we did take most of the photos with the iPhones. So what we did daily, which I found was the easiest, that the other three family members airdropped their photos to my phone. Um, and that's one thing we tweaked. We did keep airdropping, but because I had the newest phone, especially for that trip, I actually did invest for the very first time in a really good and the latest and the greatest phone. Um, so I had the best camera as well in terms of phone cameras. So after a few days, we realized that we all take almost identical photos. We take photos of the same things. And so first of all, one of our sons, he's not so keen on photography, so he fairly quickly actually stopped taking photos. Great.
He knew it was covered.
Yeah. Um, and the others, so we became more selective. They wouldn't just simply airdrop the entire day
Mm.
to my phone, and sometimes they would give me the phone and I would choose and fill gaps and then airdrop it to mine. So that already brought the numbers down a little bit in terms of not having to deal with a ton of very similar photos.
It's so good. And
Yeah.
it also means that you were able to be in the photos because often, when you are a family taker or whatever, you don't get to be in them. So it's so lovely that you could get the different
We
angles.
had actually that reminds me. Um we did a fun thing. Every day we would do a, as we called it, selfie du jour, like in French, selfie of the day. So
Yep.
every day we took a selfie. I think we only missed 1 or 2 days on the whole trip. The kids were so over it. They're like, "Oh no, mom, not another selfie." And no, you're just taking really bad selfies. Let me do it. So it was good fun. But so yes, they airdropped all the phone photos. And then we also had the SD card. So if we did use the big cameras, which was not every day, I would gather those as well. So what I would then simply do, uh, I'm connected to iCloud Photo Library, um, and I have got that on the Mac as well.
So are you saying
So
you're connected on your phone?
on my phone,
Phone's
so
connected.
I'm,
Yep.
taking photos, they go into Apple Photos, and I've turned iCloud Photos on. So they go up to iCloud. So all I had to do is turn on my computer, open the Photos app, and
Mm.
then it would synchronize and all those photos would come down. Again, this actually took quite a while sometimes, depending on internet speed, and there were days where it was not possible because that just was too bad or non-existent, so we'd skip a day. But most of the time, I have to say we did it on a daily basis.
Mm.
So they came through, and I would add the SD card photos taken if there were any. So I had everything of a day in one thing, and I find it easy to work on my laptop to look at photos and then to decide what stays and what goes. So I did do, once I had it all gathered, so that's basically a gathering step. Once I had that, I went through and I deleted as much as I could. I didn't do it every day. There were some days, they're just too busy. Or you
Yeah.
come back from exploring at 10 p.m. and yeah, the last thing is you want to do is choosing which photos to keep. So but generally speaking, that worked daily. So I would delete and at the same time I would love heart my favorites. And the love hearting had to do with the travel journal that we did and that we shared with friends and family. So I knew the love hearted ones, they will go into the travel journal. So that's
Right.
what I did pretty much on a daily basis. Yeah.
Okay, so you're there, you've done that sort of most nights. It's in your Apple
Hmm.
Photo library. You've been, collecting everything from the family members, deleting, what you can,
Mm,
favoriting and love hearting the ones that you know is sort of like the key ones to put
mm.
into the journal posts and things like that. What did you do? So now everything was in Apple Photos.
Yeah.
What was your next step?
So here it might get a bit technical, but this is what worked for us because, that's how I'm set up with our personal photos. I manage our personal photos using Lightroom Classic. So I basically use the Apple Photo Library as a means to transfer photos to my computer. So what I did
To your hub.
next
To
to
your
my
hub.
hub, that's my
Right,
photo
right, right,
hub.
right.
And that
Yep.
photo hub, I curate those photos in Lightroom Classic, and the photos sit on an external drive on that SSD that I carried with me. So what I did next is I exported all the photos. Again, usually I would do that on a daily basis after the culling and love hearting. I exported those photos and brought them into my Lightroom catalog. And I actually left them in Apple in the iCloud because it's just much easier to share them from there. And also, being on the road, it would actually give me a backup copy.
Up.
So, but I would then bring them into Lightroom Classic. And for now, like on the road, I didn't do anything with them there really. I had imagined originally that I could curate them a little bit maybe on the road, but it was just too much. It was really too much. So the only thing I did was I brought them into Lightroom Classic and I prepared a folder structure which was by country. And then within that, it was by day. So we had, day one, London, blah, blah, day two, London, so that I could easily find things, just a very basic structure. Um, and that's all I did. The whole idea about possibly curating them on the road, that never happened. So that was way too much. Yeah.
Well, you already had a great start with just what you did to even
Yeah.
have a system and
Yeah.
put them in place.
Yeah.
So understanding that if they're in the hub, then obviously our golden rule number one is backup, 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 backup. Have us, 3, 2, 1 backup. As far as 3 copies, 2 different types of devices, one off site or in the cloud if we can. How did you manage that during the trip? You just
Mm,
mentioned that you still had them in the cloud, so that was a copy. Um,
correct.
but yeah, how did you manage the backing up of these photos? Because you'd already done quite a bit of work. You didn't want to lose that.
Yes. Oh no. Oh my gosh, that would have been terrible. Um, worst case, we would have to do the trip again. Hey.
Oh, I'm coming
No,
next.
you can't. Yeah, I'll pack you. Uh, so yeah, the backup, and again, that was obviously a thing that I did plan ahead of the trip. I thought about how am I going to do that. Because on my phone, obviously, it's all optimized. They don't live on the phone, they live in the iCloud. So that was, as you said, copy number one. That was a full copy, full size, and everything. And because I had exported them into my Lightroom catalog, that's basically then the master file. That's also a full copy. So we've got number two. And I had, I used Backblaze as my cloud backup. So that was on my Mac, and that includes that SSD that holds the photo hub. So that was copy number three. That we had, and temporarily I had actually downloaded those photos in the Apple Photo Library, not as optimized, but as original onto the Mac. I had enough space on there. So that's why, in fact, we even had, if you want, we could say we had 4 copies, but we definitely had three.
Mm.
So yes, and that was really important because, traveling, how easy is it to lose something or to let drop your computer or drown your phone over the lake or something? So that was something I had thought about. And also in terms of traveling, being robbed and all those things. Obviously, I couldn't carry around my notebook all the time. So sometimes it would have to stay with the rest of the luggage in the car, which is prone to, being
Yeah.
broken in and stolen. But because I had my photo hub on my little external SSD, it was so easy. I had that in a Ziploc bag and I carried that on me all the time. Yeah.
Fantastic. So it was separate to the computer. Yeah, most times when you were traveling in the day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
That sounds like a really good, and I'm sure that would have given you a peace of mind as you were traveling, because this is such a special event, really, this adventure of, planning this with for the family for that long and all the different things you were seeing. That would have been, yeah, a really important part to have that the safety that they were, yeah, that you
Yeah,
could be able
absolutely.
to share and enjoy. And
Mm.
so my question is, I'm interested, I'm curious. So I'm guessing that I'm going to be seeing a photo book soon. Am I right?
Well, yeah, maybe not soon. I
It's a big
have,
job, I'm
oh,
sure.
it's massive. I'm still sitting on over 10,000 photos of those three
after culling?
months after culling. And unfortunately, I didn't do the numbers. Unfortunately, I didn't count when they came in. And I can't say how many I have already deleted, but like it feels like I've deleted probably half of what we took already, but there's still way too many. So yes, I haven't made the books yet. I haven't curated them yet. They still sit in those folders, and I will. They will run through my normal curation process where I will, first set will be culling more as much as I can. And actually, it's not always bad to wait for a bit. I find it easier after a little time has passed. I become more, or I become, I'm less attached to them and I become more rigorous in culling.
Right.
I'm not, I'm never gonna be minimalistic, but yeah, I do get better when more time has passed. I have experienced that so often. Yeah.
So can you tell me what's your plan? Are you going to have one huge book, or are you going to have lots of like for per country,
Mm,
or like
yeah.
what are you
Be
thinking?
because there are so many photos, even after I will have culled more. Um, I'm thinking currently that I will have a book per country because we spent pretty much 2 weeks in each of them. So we did England and then southern Spain, and then we went to see relatives in France for a few days and visited Monaco. I've got a few petrol heads in my family, so this was a must, but I have to admit it was pretty cool. And then Italy, and then I've got sort of a combined for Slovenia and Austria, the Germany and Switzerland will probably have its own with this Christmas and ski holiday, which were amazing. And but I'm also thinking maybe I'll do one book with only highlights of each place. Really, really
Summary.
just quite minimalistic, like a summary that just
Yeah.
shows the trip and a few highlights of each country or place. Yeah, something like that.
Mm.
So that's all only in my head so far.
Yeah. Well,
But
that's the fun,
you will
creative
get to
part.
see
Yeah,
them.
it will. So
That
I
might
have
be
to.
another episode, like in a
That's it.
year or so.
So I am curious about something. So during the trip, um, how did you capture the emotional impact, say, on the family and the experiences? Is that something that you'd sort of thought about? Or, I mean, obviously, as an adventure like that and seeing different things, but the connection with family is so special on a trip like that. Like you say, adult boys, it's not often we have the privilege really to spend time in this way with our adult children.
Mm,
Um, yeah, so I'm just curious about, how you captured that or if that was something you'd thought about beforehand. Yeah.
yeah. It is actually, yes. And as you say, it really was a privilege to be able to do it in the first place, but to be lucky enough that, our kids were interested and they loved the experience. Because we've always traveled so much since they were babies, basically, but they can't remember the trips.
Mm.
But now they can. They were 18 and 20 at the time, and that will stay with them. And that was, we hadn't planned for that a long time ahead. It wasn't really planned. It came about quite kind of spontaneous because we had the opportunity and we decided, you know what, we only live once, and that is such an amazing opportunity. Yeah, and we feel very blessed that we had that time together. So yes, I did want to hold on to that, and I've never been a journaler. I've tried, writing in diaries throughout my life, and then I write for 3 days, and then that's it. So I'm not good at that, but this time it was really so important that I did it, and I did do some. Again, it required planning because And I would recommend to invest that time ahead of a trip if you can, because it takes time. And, when you travel, you want to enjoy the sights and the experience and everything. You don't want to do research about tools and things. So, yeah, I used an app called Polar Step, to share photos and to also share our journal, basically. So every day I wrote, and that's where the plan fell apart. We thought we would take turns in writing the journal, but that never happened. Which was fine, because when you're on the road, you don't have a household to keep and things. So you've got time, and I really enjoyed it. And it actually went out of hand a bit over time because I started Googling things and researching things that we saw, and it became longer and longer. I'm like, "Oh, stop it!" But that was not just, we went here and there, but it was also writing about about emotions and a bit
Mm.
more personal. And I did that in my app, in the Notes app that comes with the phone. But the beauty of it is it's also, of course, synchronizing to my notebook, to my computer. So I would usually write it on the computer because I find it so hard to write on a phone. You can
Yeah.
also dictate, which I did sometimes, when we were on long rides, car trips.
Oh, yeah, that's a
I
good
would use
idea.
the time to dictate and to make some notes. And I will I will go through them again when I do the photo books, because there, here and there were like more personal thoughts that I do want to add, but I didn't want to share them publicly.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it is
So you've got to be
personal.
able to, yeah, capture them in that.
Yeah,
That's fantastic. And I think that's
yeah,
where, um, being intentional about these
yeah.
things is really a gift. So that's wonderful. My goodness. All right. So what I have taken away from this is go on a 12-week trip. No, so what I can say, I think as far as just really listening to what you're saying and looking at this from just helping people if they're going away for a short trip, a long trip, um, planning, thinking ahead. This is really, really helpful for for the success of this from a photo managing point of view.
Mm,
Thinking ahead before you start the trip as to how you're going to collect the photos from everybody, what stage you're going to do during the trip and after the trip. So that's the first thing I've taken from that planning. Also, a little bit of work each day goes a long way. That
it
seems like it's
does.
really helped to prevent that overwhelm at the end, even though I can tell that you've got a lot to do next. But I can tell it has been really helpful. And also that not one size fits all for everybody. It is different because you've got your hub on, in Lightroom, on an external drive. You're using an Apple phone. So this is a great example, I think, of in this tech world that we have and AI moving so quickly and people having
Mm,
so many different combinations of things when they travel. And there's so many different apps and things out there. I think a real hands-on experience and understanding of what you've done might be helpful for people to say and think through, okay, how could I adapt this for me and my way of what I've got?
yeah.
So helpful. Thank you so much. So, all right, well, it's been wonderful to share this understanding of how you created something that seemed to be so helpful with something that could have been really chaotic. But to our lovely listeners, as always, it's been a pleasure to talk with you about all things photos. And yeah, please reach out if you have any questions. Keep in mind that there's also some courses and things that we've got on the website that you can link up to and find out from other people as to what it is that some of the specific things that we might have talked about today that you might want to learn a little bit more about in depth. and the links and things like that will be in the show notes as well. So thanks again for today. I'm Fiona now from Counselling Memories.
And I'm Chantal from Photos in Orders. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, happy photo organizing.
Bye.
Bye.